So Satisfactory 1.0 is finally out, and I've been having a lot of fun with this, to be honest. Uh, in this game, I've got probably 360 hours now, and that's from having it for over a year. It's a great game. And 1.0 is really bringing it back to life. It adds a lot of new gameplay, a lot more hours of grinding, essentially, farming, if you will, and it really changes the game as well. It changes it in a really good way. There's been a lot of new resources added. Of course, now you can do something with your SAM ore. Um, there's a lot of new machines to be built. Very complex, of course, and there's another phase that you can do as well. One of the things I really like about this game is the resources. Like, you're never really doing anything for no reason. So if you want to produce more of something, there's a good chance eventually you'll need it, no matter what it is, unless it's biofuel. Um, yeah, and basically everything stacks on each other. So you need one thing, and then in the next tier, you'll need that thing to make another thing. So it's really cool how they do that. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it gets tedious and you're like, oh, well, how am I going to actually do this? But honestly, once you start just laying the conveyor belts, building the machines, making sure you have the resources to build those machines, like constructors, assemblers, manufacturers, and then eventually the quantum encoders, particle accelerators, etc. Uh, as long as you have the materials to build those, everything will be all right. You know, it's not something where the challenge is like insurmountable or something. And another thing, the conveyors and pipes, you're going to need a ton of those. And I mean a ton. Preferably the highest tier you can make at the time. You want to keep the materials for those going into either a dimensional storage or into a chest. That way you can always pick it up. And anytime you go out, build a long conveyor, say from the, coal that's out by the lake or the oil with all the pipes you need for bringing that back to like a central base, or even a starting area base, which is very flat. It's a good area, I think, to build. But I really like building on top of the lake, anyways. They've done some really cool things with the blueprints as well. You now can create Mark 1, Mark 2, or Mark 3 blueprints. Each one, I believe, gains one square, one foundation, both sides. So it's a pretty big upgrade, I would say, for these blueprints. I really still only make Mark 1s so far. I haven't really messed with the Mark 3s yet, but I'm looking forward to doing that. Some of the new resources you'll have is the Mercer spheres and the summer sloops, which both of those are going to be crucial for you to find as many of those as you can as early as you can. That way you can get the dimensional depots and start upgrading those as quickly as possible. But of course, you don't want to venture into the huge spider and kind of mega boss areas of the map until you're well prepared. So just keep that in mind as well. Speaking of megafauna, there are quite a few new variants that I've noticed of creatures, and I don't want to spoil anything, but just imagine bigger and more dangerous, I would say. But to me, once you have the nobelisks, and especially the nuclear nobelisks, a lot of that stuff isn't really a problem. In my latest playthrough for 1.0, I didn't even really build any rifle ammo, no homing ammo. I mean, I probably should have, just because it is fun to use those, but it's also really fun to just run around with a bunch of nobelisks and just blow up everything. That's what I find the most fun, but you can choose whatever you want. But the megafauna are something that you should be a little more cautious with, especially now. The spiders, those are pretty scary. I mean, they're always going to be scary. I don't know if they made them any bigger. It kind of seems like they did, but it's kind of hard to tell. I know they did add, I'll say they added a couple variants of a couple of the fauna, so it's pretty cool. Some of the new colors that they added as well for foundations and equipment, is pretty awesome, honestly. The Caterium, the Chrome, I think it's called Steel, Solid Steel, all very cool. Of course, you've got the boombox, which is always fun to just mess around with, listen to some music while you're playing. I think that's one thing about this game that makes it so fun to return to. I mean, I honestly, a lot of times the music is what kind of attracts you to something. I mean, think about if the Dark Knight had not had its soundtrack, or if the Avengers didn't have their soundtrack and it was something weird or that sucked. You know, you know, each thing needs its own good soundtrack, and this one has a great one. As far as the time spent on this game, I think you could easily spend 100 hours on a single playthrough. In fact, I think that's what I spent on this one. I'm at 360 now, and I believe before this I was around 260, maybe 270. So that's a lot of grinding. I mean, 100 hours. I don't know many games that you can spend 100 hours in and not get bored and really not even beat it. And that's with some AFK time to let things kind of build up and go into chests. There's definitely some of that. You know, why would you not? If your PC can handle it without exploding. That's one thing I will say about this game. It does run your graphics card and just generally components, CPU, very hard. There's not many games that the cords and the wall behind my PC is as hot as it is when I'm playing Satisfactory, and maybe that is all CPU heat. That's, you know, maybe it's not super graphically challenging, but I believe it's a mixture of both, to be honest, because I have a 4070, a 5800 X3D, and you know, they put off some heat. I use air cooling, but that's something to be mindful of as well. One of the most satisfying things about playing Satisfactory is just seeing your work kind of come together. I would imagine it's kind of the similar satisfaction of when you are mowing your lawn or, you know, playing the pressure washer simulator. It's like you can see that progress and you can see all of these, you know, say you want to build a conveyor like all the way across the map. You, of course, can do that. It may not be the smartest thing to do. Maybe it's smarter to produce all of the products there and then, you know, build a train the whole way, or build a drone, or, you know, build something like that. And really to have so many options of how you want to do something. You know, there's a million different ways to do things in Satisfactory, especially once you get to the late game. You can pretty much produce any resource with a mixture of the SAM and I believe it's coal or diamonds or iron ingot. It's there's multiple recipes you can use, but those are something I really think I haven't gotten into, and I think if you unlock all of that stuff, uh, you know, you should try to use it before you finish and beat the game. Maybe you want to keep optimizing after you beat the game, and you know, why not? Because I kind of expect this game's been such a hit, and it just came out 1.0. I kind of expect them to do a DLC at some point or another. They may not. They may just go straight to working on maybe Satisfactory 2 or something completely different. It's hard to say. I mean, I don't know what they would really change right now about this game. I don't know what they could change. I don't know how they could really add to it unless they had a different story, different planet, different world, of course. I think that's something they could consider. But the core mechanics of this game, like, I don't know how you could really do it without just kind of taking everything from this. And maybe they will do that. So as a conclusion, I mean, Satisfactory 1.0, it's got to be one of my favorite games I've ever played. I mean, it is for sure one of. I don't know if it's the most fun I've ever had with the game, though. I think it's very possible that it is. And so I really would recommend anybody who enjoys like base building or kind of factory type games. And I don't mean factory as in like, you know, even Pal World, Valheim, anything where you're finding resources to build things. This one's a very satisfying one to do that in. And I could recommend this game to pretty much anybody. I don't know if everybody would have a good time with it, but anybody who has fun with those resource gathering games, I can almost guarantee will have fun with this. And so tell me, what are your thoughts about Satisfactory 1.0? Do you think it was a hit? Do you think the game will experience a kind of big growth during this time? I mean, a lot of people who wanted to play it probably have already bought it, but I did see it on the top 20 on Steam. I can't remember what they actually got to, but I'm loving it. Hope you're loving it too. Let me know in the comments below if it's something that you're playing and what your favorite part about the update is. Anyways, that's about it. See ya.